When the overhead security cameras captured everything in crisp, high-definition detail, this was never going to be another routine encounter in which someone nervous handed over information they were not required to give. This was going to be a masterclass in constitutional rights, and every moment would remain preserved on video. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, I need to ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Leave your country or state in the comments, and if you appreciate stories of people who defend their rights and truly know the law, please hit that subscribe button. This story is about to grow even more intense, and you will not want to miss a single moment. Thank you. Dr. Nia Caldwell had worked as a licensed pharmacist for years, but she was no ordinary pharmacist. After spending time in the field and seeing how often pharmacies became targets of police for baseless investigations, she decided to return to school. She enrolled part-time in law school while continuing to work, dedicating arduous years to the study of healthcare law, privacy regulations, and constitutional protections. She graduated with honors and passed the bar exam on her first attempt. She never practiced as an attorney. She did not need to. She returned to pharmacy work, but now she carried something most pharmacists did not possess: a complete understanding of the legal boundaries between law enforcement and healthcare providers. She knew the HIPAA regulations inside and out. She knew the Fourth Amendment protections that applied to businesses. She knew exactly when police could and could not access patient information. And she understood that many officers relied on intimidation and confusion about these laws to obtain information they had no legal right to access. Her pharmacy stood in a diverse neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. It was a small, independent pharmacy, not part of any major chain. Dr. Nia Caldwell was the owner. She employed several other pharmacists and technicians. The pharmacy served hundreds of patients daily. Many came from marginalized communities. Many took medication for chronic conditions, and many navigated the daily complexities of the healthcare system. Dr. Nia Caldwell took patient privacy seriously. Not only because the law demanded it, but because she understood that her patients trusted her with their most personal health information. Some took medications for HIV, some for mental health disorders, some for hormone therapy, and some managed addiction recovery with medications like Suboxone. To her, these were not merely data points. They were real people whose lives could be shattered if their medical information fell into the wrong hands. One afternoon, the pharmacy was quiet. A couple of customers browsed the aisles. Dr. Nia Caldwell stood behind the pharmacy counter reviewing a prior authorization request for a patient's diabetes medication. The bells above the main door chimed as Officer Bryce Harlan walked in. Officer Bryce Harlan was a veteran of the Seattle Police Department. He worked in the narcotics division and had a reputation for aggressive investigations. He was also known among defense attorneys for skipping steps, making assumptions, and occasionally crossing legal lines in pursuit of what he considered the greater good. He had received several complaints throughout his career, but none had resulted in serious discipline. He was accustomed to people doing what he said. He was accustomed to his badge opening doors. He was accustomed to intimidation working. Officer Bryce Harlan walked straight to the pharmacy counter. He did not introduce himself politely. He did not ask if it was a convenient time. He simply announced that he was conducting an investigation and needed access to the security footage and patient records. Dr. Nia Caldwell looked up from her computer and immediately recognized the situation for what it was: a baseless investigation. "Officer, I am Dr. Nia Caldwell, the chief pharmacist and owner of this pharmacy," she said in a professional, measured voice. "Can you tell me specifically what you are investigating?" Officer Bryce Harlan's response was vague. He said there had been reports of suspicious activity and that he needed to review recent transactions. He used that word suspicious as if it carried important legal weight. Dr. Nia Caldwell knew it meant nothing. Quick question for everyone watching. Have you ever had someone in a position of authority try to pressure you into doing something you knew was not legal? Write yes or no in the comments. Officer Bryce Harlan leaned forward, both hands planted on the counter. His body language was designed to intimidate. It was a tactic he had used countless times, and it usually worked. People grew nervous, stepped back, and cooperated rather than risk consequences. Dr. Nia Caldwell did not step back. She did not look away. She simply waited. "Ma'am, I will make this very clear," Officer Bryce Harlan said, his voice lower but harder. "I am conducting an official police investigation. Refusing to cooperate with a police investigation is obstruction. I do not think you want to be charged with obstruction." There it was, the threat, the implied suggestion that if Dr. Nia Caldwell did not comply, she would face criminal charges. It was a bluff, and Dr. Nia Caldwell knew it, but most people would not. Most people would hear obstruction and panic. Dr. Nia Caldwell's response remained measured. Officer Bryce Harlan, may I see your badge number? It is 12847. I am not obstructing anything. I am complying with federal law. If you have a court order or a search warrant, I will comply immediately, but I cannot violate HIPAA regulations just because you ask me to. Officer Bryce Harlan's expression changed. You know, in my years, I have dealt with many pharmacies. Most people understand that cooperation makes things easier for everyone, but there are always some who think they are smarter than the rest, who think they know more. Dr. Nia Caldwell caught the shift, the change in his tone, the implication. I do not think I am smarter than anyone, she said calmly. I simply follow the law, the same law that applies to every pharmacy in this city. Yeah, well, maybe where you come from, people do things differently, Officer Bryce Harlan said, his tone now harsher. But here we expect cooperation with law enforcement. We expect respect. Where I come from, Dr. Nia Caldwell repeated, her voice still calm but her eyes sharp. I am from Seattle, officer, born and raised, and respect goes both ways. I respect your position. That is why I am very clear about what the law requires. I am asking you to respect mine by following the proper procedures. The pharmacy had grown very quiet. The customers who had been browsing had noticed the confrontation and watched from a distance. One of the pharmacy technicians, a young black woman named Jasmine, had positioned herself where she could see everything unfolding, and the security cameras captured every moment. Officer Bryce Harlan noticed the audience, and it seemed to anger him more than make him cautious. You know what your problem is, he said, pointing a finger at Dr. Nia Caldwell. People like you come here, open these little shops, and think the rules do not apply to you. You think because you have some title on the wall, you can talk down to the people who have been protecting this community for years. People like me, Dr. Nia Caldwell said quietly. What does that mean, officer? You know what it means, Officer Bryce Harlan replied. I see it all the time. You come in, settle into our neighborhoods, and suddenly you are experts on everything. Meanwhile, we are the ones dealing with the real problems here. Our neighborhoods, Dr. Nia Caldwell repeated. Officer, this is my neighborhood. I live a few blocks from here. I serve this community. Those are my patients you are talking about. One of the customers, an older white man, spoke up from near the vitamin aisle. Officer, she is just doing her job. She is a good pharmacist. I have been coming here for years. Officer Bryce Harlan turned toward him. Sir, I am going to need you to step back. This does not concern you. Then, turning back to Dr. Nia Caldwell, with his face reddened, he continued, Now that you want to be difficult about this, I think I need to conduct a full inspection of these premises. Make sure everything is in order. Make sure all your medications are properly accounted for. You know, in these neighborhoods we find all kinds of irregularities when we really look. Do you think Dr. Nia Caldwell was right to keep insisting? Let us know in the comments. This was a new tactic. If he could not get the records one way, he would try another. He would claim he was conducting some kind of safety inspection to gain access to the pharmacy. It was transparent and desperate. Dr. Nia Caldwell did not miss a beat. Code violations fall under the jurisdiction of the Washington State Department of Health, not local police, she said. Our pharmacy was inspected by the Board of Pharmacy recently, and we are in full compliance. If you have specific concerns about the pharmacy's operations, you can file a complaint with the appropriate regulatory body, but you do not have the authority to conduct an inspection without the proper regulatory authorization. Officer Bryce Harlan's hand moved toward his radio. It was another intimidation tactic, the suggestion that he could call for backup, that he could turn this into a larger situation, that he could make Dr. Nia Caldwell's life more difficult. Dr. Nia Caldwell noticed the movement. She had seen it before in other contexts. It was the physical sign of someone running out of options. Officer, before you make any call, I want to be very clear about what is happening here, Dr. Nia Caldwell said in a firm professional voice. You entered my pharmacy without a court order or a search warrant. You demanded access to protected medical information. When I explained the legal requirements, you threatened me with criminal charges. When that did not work, you claimed you needed to inspect the premises under a different jurisdiction. All of this is being recorded on our security system, and there are multiple witnesses present. If you continue with this course of action, I will have no choice but to file a formal complaint with your department and potentially initiate a civil rights lawsuit for violation of HIPAA protections and the Fourth Amendment. The silence that followed was heavy. Officer Bryce Harlan stood there with his hand still near his radio, his face red, clearly furious, but also clearly aware that he had made a series of terrible decisions. He had walked into what he thought would be a simple intimidation situation, and instead found himself facing someone who knew the law better than he did and who was not afraid to use that knowledge. "I will be back with the proper documentation," Officer Bryce Harlan said finally, trying to save face. "I look forward to it," Dr. Nia Caldwell replied. "And officer, when you return, call ahead. We serve many patients and I would like to minimize disruptions to their care." Officer Bryce Harlan turned and walked out of the pharmacy without another word. The door chimed behind him. The customers who had been watching slowly returned to browsing. Jasmine approached the counter with wide eyes. "Dr. Caldwell, that was incredible. I have never seen anyone handle a police officer like that." Dr. Nia Caldwell smiled, but there was no triumph in her expression, only relief that for the moment it was over. "I simply know the law," she said simply, "and I take my patient's privacy very seriously." But it was not over, not by a long shot. Dr. Nia Caldwell did two things immediately after Officer Bryce Harlan left. First, she saved all the security footage of the encounter in multiple secure locations. She knew from her legal training that evidence could disappear, so she made sure that would not be possible. Second, she called the pharmacy's attorney, a healthcare law specialist named Marcus Park, who had been advising the pharmacy for years. Marcus Park listened to Dr. Nia Caldwell's description of what happened and asked her to send the security footage. He watched it once and called her back immediately. "Dr. Caldwell, this is a textbook civil rights violation," he said. "That officer had no legal basis for any of his demands or threats. You handled it perfectly, but we need to be proactive here. He will be angry, and angry cops sometimes come back with friends." Dr. Nia Caldwell understood. She asked Marcus Park what he recommended. "File a formal complaint with the Seattle PD immediately," he said. "We will document everything that happened while it is fresh. We will also send a letter to the department's legal counsel outlining the violations and putting them on notice, and we will prepare for the possibility that this officer tries to retaliate." In the time that followed, Dr. Nia Caldwell and Marcus Park prepared a comprehensive complaint. It was not a simple form. It was a detailed legal document that laid out every violation, cited every applicable law, and included time-stamped screenshots from the security footage. The complaint was thorough and included attachments. It was filed with the Seattle Police Department's Office of Police Accountability the next morning. Later that day, the complaint had reached the desk of Captain Elena Vargas, who oversaw the unit of Officer Bryce Harlan. Captain Elena Vargas was a veteran who had risen through the ranks and had a reputation for taking accountability seriously. She watched the security footage, read the complaint, and immediately recognized that this was a serious issue. She called Officer Bryce Harlan into her office that same day. "Do you want to tell me what happened at the Caldwell pharmacy?" she asked in a tone that made it clear this was not a casual conversation. Officer Bryce Harlan tried to downplay it. He said he was following a lead, that the pharmacist was being difficult, that she was obstructing his investigation. He did not mention the specific threats he had made. He did not mention that he had no warrant or legal authority. He presented himself as a cop trying to do his job and a civilian making it harder than necessary. Captain Elena Vargas let him finish. Then she turned her computer monitor so Officer Bryce Harlan could see it. The security footage was playing with audio and all. "Watch this and then tell me again what happened," she said. Officer Bryce Harlan watched. The moment he realized how serious this was could be seen on his face. The footage showed everything: his vague justifications, his threats, his attempt at intimidation, his claim about code violations, his racist comments about "you in our neighborhoods." Everything. When it ended, Captain Elena Vargas asked him a simple question. "Did you have a court order, a search warrant, or any legal authorization to request that patient information?" Officer Bryce Harlan hesitated, then said, "No. You threatened her with obstruction charges for complying with federal privacy law." There was a longer hesitation. "Yes, but I thought—" "Thought what?" Captain Elena Vargas interrupted. "Thought HIPAA did not apply. Thought you could intimidate a healthcare provider into breaking federal law. Thought your badge gave you the right to ignore constitutional protections." Officer Bryce Harlan had no good answers because there were none. "You are suspended effective immediately," Captain Elena Vargas said. "Pending a full investigation, turn in your badge and your weapon. Internal Affairs will be in touch." The investigation that followed was thorough. Internal Affairs interviewed Dr. Nia Caldwell, watched the security footage multiple times, reviewed Officer Bryce Harlan's records from recent months, and uncovered a pattern. It was not the first time Officer Bryce Harlan had made questionable requests for information without proper authorization. It was simply the first time someone had documented it so completely. They found several other cases in the months before where Officer Bryce Harlan had requested medical records, financial records, or security footage without warrants. In those cases, people had complied because they did not know they could say no. They did not know the law. They simply knew that saying no to a police officer felt dangerous. Right facts, if you believe this investigation, should have happened years earlier. Dr. Nia Caldwell's case was different because she knew the law and had the confidence to assert her rights. But how many people had their privacy violated before her who did not have that knowledge? How much private medical information of patients had been illegally exposed? How much evidence had been gathered in ways that violated the Fourth Amendment? The investigation report was devastating. It concluded that Officer Bryce Harlan had violated department policy, federal privacy regulations, and constitutional protections. It determined that he had established a pattern of behavior that suggested he either did not understand the legal limits of his authority or did not care, and it recommended his termination. The Seattle Police Department announced Officer Bryce Harlan's termination several weeks after the incident at Dr. Nia Caldwell's pharmacy. The announcement was brief and professional, stating that an officer had been fired for violations of department policy and federal regulations. They did not name Officer Bryce Harlan publicly, but his name appeared in the official termination documents that Dr. Nia Caldwell's attorney obtained through public records requests. But the consequences did not end with the termination. Dr. Nia Caldwell, with guidance from Marcus Park, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Officer Bryce Harlan personally and against the Seattle Police Department under Title 42 of the United States Code, Section 1983. The lawsuit alleged violation of Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches, violation of privacy rights, attempted intimidation, and threats of retaliation. The city's legal team reviewed the case and the evidence. They saw the security footage, read the investigation report, and calculated the possible jury verdict. If the case went to trial, a jury would see a professional and composed healthcare provider being threatened by a police officer for following the law. The verdict would be substantial and the publicity devastating. They reached a settlement. The terms of the settlement were confidential, but sources familiar with the negotiation said it was in the mid-six figures. More importantly, the settlement included provisions for the city to implement new training for all officers on HIPAA regulations, privacy rights, and the limits of police authority in healthcare settings. Dr. Nia Caldwell personally reviewed the training materials before they were approved. The case also triggered a broader review of the Narcotics Division's practices. How many other officers were making requests without proper legal authorization? How much evidence had been gathered illegally? How many cases might need to be reviewed or even dismissed? The review found that several other officers had engaged in similar practices, though none as extensively as Officer Bryce Harlan. The department implemented new oversight procedures that required supervisors to approve all requests for protected information and mandated documentation of legal authority before such requests could be made. Several months after the incident, Dr. Nia Caldwell was contacted by a reporter from the Seattle Times who was working on a story about police overreach in medical settings. The reporter had obtained documents through public records requests and wanted Dr. Nia Caldwell's perspective. Dr. Nia Caldwell agreed to be interviewed, though she kept the focus on the systemic issues rather than her personal experience. The resulting article detailed how police departments across the country faced a challenge in balancing legitimate law enforcement needs with privacy protections in the digital age. It presented Dr. Nia Caldwell's case as an example of what happens when officers do not understand or respect those limits. The reporting was picked up by national media and sparked conversations in law enforcement circles about the need for better training. Dr. Nia Caldwell's pharmacy became something of a legend within the health privacy community. She was invited to speak about patient privacy and knowing your rights at pharmacy conferences. She developed training materials that other pharmacies could use to educate their staff about when they could and could not share information with law enforcement. She advised the American Pharmacists Association on best practices for handling law enforcement requests. What would you do if you were in Dr. Nia Caldwell's situation? Comment below. But perhaps the most significant impact was on the patients in Dr. Nia Caldwell's community. Word spread about what had happened. Patients who had been nervous about filling their prescriptions, worried about privacy, worried about their information falling into the wrong hands, felt safer. They knew their pharmacist would protect their information even in the face of law enforcement pressure. One patient, a young woman with HIV medication, told Dr. Nia Caldwell months later that she had almost switched pharmacies because of her privacy concerns. But after learning about the incident with Officer Bryce Harlan, she knew she was in the right place. She knew Dr. Nia Caldwell would protect her information no matter what. That is really what this story is about. It is not just about a pharmacist standing up to an officer. It is about the fundamental right to privacy in healthcare. It is about the fact that people should not have to choose between receiving necessary medical care and worrying about the exposure of their information. It is about the fact that police officers, despite their important role in society, do not have unlimited authority. They operate within constitutional and legal limits, and when they step outside those limits, there must be consequences. Officer Bryce Harlan never worked in law enforcement again. After his termination from the Seattle Police Department, he tried to get hired by suburban departments, but the justified termination made it nearly impossible. He eventually left law enforcement entirely. Some people who followed the story felt this was too harsh. A career ended over a single incident, but it was not a single incident. It was a pattern of behavior that had finally been documented thoroughly enough to result in accountability. Dr. Nia Caldwell continued to run her pharmacy, now with even more respect from her community and her profession. She paid off her law school loans with part of the settlement money and used the rest to establish a small legal assistance fund to help other healthcare providers who faced similar situations but could not afford legal representation. Several years after the incident, Dr. Nia Caldwell was invited to testify before the Washington State Legislature about proposed legislation to strengthen patient privacy protections and clarify the procedures law enforcement must follow when requesting medical information. Her testimony, calm and factual, was instrumental in the bill's passage. The pharmacy where it all happened is still in the same Seattle neighborhood. It continues to serve hundreds of patients daily. The security cameras continue to run, always recording, and Dr. Nia Caldwell continues to take patient privacy as seriously as she did that afternoon when Officer Bryce Harlan walked through her door expecting easy compliance. The signs behind the pharmacy counter now include not only the notices required by the Board of Pharmacy, but also information about patient privacy rights. A sign in multiple languages informs patients that their medical information is protected by federal law and that the pharmacy will never share it without proper legal authorization. It is a small sign, but patients notice it and feel safer because of it. Do you think more healthcare providers should receive legal training like Dr. Nia Caldwell? Let me know in the comments. This story is important for several reasons. First, it demonstrates that rights are irrelevant if people do not know they have them. Dr. Nia Caldwell was not doing anything heroic or extraordinary by knowing the HIPAA regulations. That is information anyone can learn, but because she took the time to truly understand it, she was able to protect not only herself, but hundreds of patients whose information could have been improperly disclosed. Second, it shows that figures of authority are not infallible and are not above the law. Officer Bryce Harlan had years of experience, but that experience did not include a proper understanding of privacy regulations. His badge gave him certain powers, but it did not give him the power to ignore federal law. And when he acted as if it did, there were consequences. Third, it illustrates the importance of documentation. Without the security footage, it would have been Dr. Nia Caldwell's word against a veteran police officer who would have been believed. Probably not the pharmacist, but with clear and unequivocal video evidence, there was no way to dispute what had happened. Fourth, it highlights systemic problems in law enforcement training. Officer Bryce Harlan was not a rogue officer doing something wildly outside the norms. He was doing something many officers do, making requests without proper legal authority and relying on intimidation and confusion to obtain compliance. The fact that Dr. Nia Caldwell's case was necessary to trigger a broader review of practices suggests that these violations were happening regularly and going unnoticed. Finally, it reminds us that defending rights is not only a matter of individual vindication. When Dr. Nia Caldwell refused to comply with Officer Bryce Harlan's illegal demands, she was not only protecting herself or her pharmacy, she was protecting every patient whose information he might have requested. She was setting a precedent that other healthcare providers could point to. She was forcing systemic changes that would protect countless people in the future. The conversation that began in Dr. Nia Caldwell's pharmacy that afternoon spread in ways neither she nor Officer Bryce Harlan could have anticipated. It changed policies in the Seattle Police Department. It influenced state legislation. It became a teaching tool in pharmacy schools and police academies. It empowered other healthcare providers to know and assert their rights. And it all happened because one person knew the law and refused to be intimidated into ignoring it. If you found this story valuable, here is what I want you to do. Share it with any healthcare provider you know. Share it with anyone who works in a field where they handle confidential information. Share it with anyone who has ever felt pressured by figures of authority to do something they knew was wrong. This story needs to be told and retold because these situations happen every day and most of them do not end in accountability. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel because I cover more stories like this. Stories about ordinary people who know their rights and refuse to be intimidated. Stories about accountability and justice. Stories that need to be heard. Click the subscribe button right now and leave a comment letting me know what the most important lesson you take away from Dr. Nia Caldwell's story is. The importance of knowing your rights, the power of documentation, the need for better training, the value of standing firm even when it is uncomfortable. Thank you for watching this story until the end. Thank you for caring about rights, privacy, and accountability. These stories matter, and your engagement helps them reach more people who need to hear them. Remember, your rights only protect you if you know what they are and you are willing to assert them. Dr. Nia Caldwell knew hers. Officer Bryce Harlan did not know his limits, and that made all the difference. See you in the next story.